Hello, and welcome, friends. Today we're talking about the top 4 vintage basketball cards that Gary Vee'd wants you to buy. Now that's a little bit tongue-in-cheek, but, you could have worse things in your tongue and your cheek. First, we're going to talk about Rick Barry. His 1971 Topps rookie card is still somewhere under $100. He has an underhanded free throw percentage of 90%. Now that's a little bit weird and unorthodox because people are not using the underhanded free throw method. I think Joakim Noah, or Joakim Noah, whatever you want to call it, that dude uses some sort of a similar strategy, but it's not something that you see very often. Dude scored over 25,000 points in his career, and he's also featured for being a jackass. Nobody really liked him. He had a bad attitude. He was difficult to get along with. He played for a number of teams, including the Golden State Warriors. But when people start looking at vintage basketball cards, which is inevitable, I mean, think about baseball cards. You know, all the Willie Mays, the Hank Aaron's, all the vintage stuff, you could pick out 5 or 10 great players. When you look at vintage basketball, all people think about, well, you got Magic Johnson, Larry Bird, you got Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, and you got Julius Erving to a lesser extent. And a lot of the modern dudes don't even really like Julius Erving. He's just now started to get more attention. So once the vintage basketball has more attention on it, these cards are definitely going to see an increase in interest. And the other thing is the pop counts are very low compared to modern cards. Think about the way that things work. You have a hot rookie, superstar type strategy. People are looking for that rookie card. And then the pop count, since it's a modern card, is up like 780 million or some crazy shit like that. And then, 5 years into his career, he's just a star. Like, he's a good player. He's an all-star, but he's not that super hot rookie people are paying $7 million for out of the gate. He's just some dude. But now the pop count really matters because that 100,000, 7 million, whatever, that's going to matter a lot more because there's going to be less people that are interested, less high demand for that card. So when it comes to the vintage cards, that high demand or interest is going to have way more of an impact on the price because the supply is so low, especially with the graded shit. So it's like an Easter egg hunt, man. You guys got to be out there hunting for these cards. Rick Barry, that's the first guy. That's the first egg, and he's probably a bad egg, like Wonka, right down the drain. The next guy we're talking about is Artis Gilmore. That dude kind of looks like Jared Allen. He's got one of them super froze, good-looking dude. 1972 Topps is his rookie card. He shot 59.9% was his field goal percentage, and that is an NBA record. He's also regarded as one of the strongest men to ever play pro ball, one of the best centers, best shot blockers, and he played once 670 games consecutively. If that's not a trooper, I don't know what is, man. You'd have to have like a suit and a badge, Damn. The next guy we're going to talk about is more of a modern player, and all of you guys know him, but in the class of players that we all think about, this dude definitely is at the lower end. He doesn't get as much attention as he deserves, and that is Dominique Wilkins. He's been playing since like 82, but 86 Fleer is considered his rookie card because of a lack of basketball cards in the market during that early 80s period. And he has been outshined by the other players. The Hawks basically sucked. He won 2 slam dunk contests, including beating Michael Jordan in the finals of one of them. Dominique Wilkins' cards are routinely lower than everybody else's. Look up 86 Fleer, 87, 88, all this stuff that people are starting to pick up, and his cards are definitely on the lower end. They're still considered, at the top end, but they're at the low end of the top end, and you don't want that. We're not talking cars. We're talking Dominique Wilkins. So if you want to go out there and find his 86, his 87, 88 Fleer, all those cards are going to be they're going to have a lot of value possible. You know what I mean? They're going to have a cap that is uncapped. So I'm looking for his cards absolutely. What are his other stats here? He averaged more than 25 points for more than 10 years, and he's only one of 8 players to do that. His jersey number 21 has been retired by the Hawks. And here's the other thing. If Trae Young is kicking everybody's ass next season when basketball comes back, they're certainly going to be talking about other Hawks, and Dominique Wilkins is going to be in that conversation because people often consider him one of the best Hawks ever, if not the best Hawk ever. So if you look at top Hawks ever, whatever you research, you'll see his name number 1 or number 2 pretty much all the time. So that is more of a modern player on this list, but I do believe that his cards are in a very good price range. They have a lot of potential, and I do believe that out of all those players from the 80s that we all like, the Isaiah Thomas, the Charles Barkley, Johnson, Kareem, all those guys that played in that era, Dominique Wilkins is the most popular of the least popular out of the most popular. So look for those cards. The next guy, the last dude, is an absolute beast. I don't know why he doesn't get more attention, and that is Moses Malone. And his rookie card is 1975 tops. And to be honest, we wouldn't even have Charles Barkley if we didn't have Moses Malone. He mentored Charles Barkley when they were on the 76ers. He said, Charles Barkley came to him and said, why am I not getting more playing time? And he said, well, you're fat and you're lazy, and that inspired Charles Barkley. And he lost like 20 pounds, got more playing time, became a beast. So you wouldn't have Barkley if it wasn't Charles or for Moses Malone. And from 1979 to 1987, he averaged 25 points and 14 rebounds per game, and no player has done that since. And in a second here, we're going to take a look at all their stats on basketballreference.com. We're also going to take a look at their cards, the rookie cards, and what they're going for on eBay right now to give you guys a good idea of what you can shoot for. So give me 1 second, and I will bring you guys over to this main screen. Okay, bam. So right here, you're looking at Rick Barry, and he looks like he's really intense too, doesn't he? This dude is decorated. Maybe he was a jackass, but he's a decorated jackass. Hall of Fame, 12-time All-Star, 74-75 STL champ. I don't know what STL, St. Louis or some shit. 6-time All-NBA, 4-time All-ABA. He was the All-Star MVP. And I got to tell you, does All-Star MVP really matter these days? I mean, nobody really takes the All-Star game seriously. Nobody plays defense. They're just hanging out, having a good time, couple of brews, some wings, a football game, while they're playing a basketball game. So for me, I don't think the All-Star MVP matters as much. But in 66-67, maybe it did. Anyway, he was the 65-66 Rookie of the Year, 74-75 Finals MVP, All ABA All-Time or whatever, the 66-67 Scoring Champ, 74-75 Champ. I mean, this dude is decorated. And like I said, he had that 90% free throw percentage, scored over 25,000 points, averaged almost 25 points over 1,000 games. Averaging 25 points a game is pretty beast. So Rick Barry's cards, not all that valuable, but again, they're not that prevalent. There's just not that many of them out there. Right now, we are looking at all listings on eBay, ended recently, and we are seeing what we can find out there. This one looks like it was in very good plus condition. They took a best offer on $100. Right here, $60. I mean, guys, we're talking about basketball cards from like 1971, which in baseball is not as old or doesn't feel as old since there's so much back in the 50s or 60s. But basketball was definitely more sparse. It wasn't anywhere near as popular. So like I said, the pop counts, if this stuff gets a lot of attention, if it gets attention over time, it's really going to matter. And if you guys end up finding a good condition card, like here's a PSA 7 that went for $300, but here's a PSA 10 of this card that ended for $6,600. So even if you can get yourself something like a PSA 7 or a PSA 8, man, it's valuable. And that's just right now. What about in the future? So, going and looking, like I said, put it on buy it now, take the sold listings off, and just camp out. Buy it now, newly listed, search, and, again, you could even minus PSA if you want to. But, you keep it up there just in case somebody does put a PSA up too cheap, and just hunt and try to find that awesome card to get graded. That is Rick Barry. So, again, Rick Barry, number 1. Artis Gilmore, he's the other dude we were talking about. Also Hall of Fame, 11-time All-Star, 96-97 ABA All-Time, 5 times All-Defensive. Remember, we talked about this dude being an absolute beast, one of the strongest, one of the best centers of all time that people don't give credit to. 5-time All-ABA, 73-74 All-Star MVP. He was the 71-72 League MVP, along with All-Rookie and the Rookie of the Year. So, again, relatively decorated dude, scoring an average of almost 20 points per game over his career of 1,300 games. I mean, this dude was just an absolute trooper and a beast. And if you check out some of his highlights, man, he's got some groove. He really does. He kind of, Jared Allen reminds me of him. You guys know I like Jared Allen, so you know what's up. But if you go and check out his rookie cards, all listings ended recently. We're looking at the sold listings, and look at this one. this went for literally $11. And you know, the other thing about this is that it's a 1972 Topps. You guys know I've got those Kareem Abdul-Jabbar's, the first Kareem name, and I've got 3 of those in decent condition at PSA. Basically, I think this is a beautiful set. Julius Erving's rookie card is in this set. I think that just going out of your way to pick up 1972 Topps stars is a great idea. So if you're looking for Wilt Chamberlain, whoever else, if I showed you guys my main page of searches, you would see that I have it in parentheses. I have all the different players that I'm looking for from this set, and that includes guys like Artis Gilmore, Oscar Robertson, Wilt Chamberlain, Kareem, Julius, all those dudes. So $18, you know, plus shipping, $8.50. This right here, PSA 10, went for $2,000. I mean, a full 1925. I'm guessing that the pop count is very low on that. And if this dude suddenly got a bunch of attention, I mean, again, I don't think the attention is going to come to these vintage cards in one big swoop. I don't think we're going to see like a tidal wave where suddenly the next day it's an 8K card. I think we're just going to gradually see more interest as we go through more time spent on basketball cards and collecting basketball in general. These cards are going to go up as people hear, oh, who were the LeBron James type guys back in the day? Who were the dudes that were kicking ass back in the vintage era? Because it's going to be just like in baseball when you're looking at the Willie Mays and the Hank Aaron's and who those dudes were that were better than average. And these are the guys that haven't gotten a ton of attention. And you can see, you know, $2,000 for a gem mint. I mean, even if you think that's a lot for a card, right? You're thinking, oh man, that's a lot for a card. But at the same time, it's a 1972, and they deemed it gem mint. I mean, that's a rarity. You're rarely ever gonna find that. If we looked up the pop count on that, it's probably like 20. Or some crazy shit. A lot of the times these vintage cards have a 10-to-1 split between PSA 10 and PSA 9. So you're rarely ever going to find a 10, which means they're going to go for a super premium as if it were like a BGS 10. And all those 9s are going to essentially have the value of what an average 10 would look like for a modern card or like a, you know, somewhere in the 80s or something like that type of a card, where you just have you have some of them, but this is the main dude because there's so few of the one ahead of it. So looking for these cards in good condition, again, kind of like an Easter egg hunt. You know, here's one from Greg Morris cards sold for $23. I mean, I would take a look at these and just hunt and try to find the one that pops up. If you're there and you're the guy that gets it, then you get to get it graded and benefit from that. So if you look right now, there's only a $40 guy with no creases and then a $30 guy. So, I mean, if you go and you take a look at the $30 guy, and he shows you, you know, this one's pretty off center, and the corners are a little bit on the soft side. There's definitely some chipping. I mean, the back centering kills it, because even though they are lenient on back centering, when you're looking at 9s and below, it's like a 90-10 split. This definitely does not cut the mustard there. Plus, there's a big bend on that lower left corner. So this is not a card that I would be interested in, other than if I wanted one personally. But just look at how attractive that is. Look at how dope these 1972 Topps basketball cards look. So Artis Gilmore is the second guy. Third guy, Dominique Wilkins. And again, he doesn't have as dressed up as a resume, which might be why he's on the lower end of things. But again, he's one of the best Hawks of all time. Perhaps Trae Young brings some attention to that. And out of all those dudes from the 90s and the late 80s or whatever, Dominique Wilkins' cards are worth less. But I think that his cards have the ability to go up. I mean, he averaged almost 25 points a game over 1,000 games. 7 times all NBA, 82-83 All-Rookie. He was the scoring champ one year, 9-time All-Star, Hall of Fame. I mean, it's nothing to sneeze at, and he's definitely regarded, very well respected player. I believe his cards are simply undervalued. I think that he has a better chance than a guy like Isaiah Thomas of going up, and I'm not sure if that's because people just don't really like or connect with Isaiah Thomas or whatever it is, but I think in general, when you hear people think or talk about Dominique Wilkins, it's generally a well-regarded player. So Dominique Wilkins is a dude I'm definitely trying to get more cards of. And if you check out a lot of his cards, they're not that expensive. Like right here, some buffoon from Canada just went and put a minty fresh one up there for $40. Like, I would have bought this if I had seen it, you know? Let me take a look, actually, if it's actually minty fresh. The centering looks good. There's a little bit of a ding up there on the top right. You can see there's some wear on this bottom corner as well. You know, it's probably in the 7 range for grading, so it's probably worth 80 or 90 bucks after grading. So I'm definitely in the market for more of these Dominique Wilkins cards. And I had 2 PSA 7s that we sold a while ago. You can see those go for about 80 bucks. So they're not that expensive. And anytime you have a vintage guy who's well regarded and has a pretty well decorated career, especially a dude like this, it's on the tail end of those popular players, that's a guy that you probably want to take a shot at investing in, even if you just buy a couple of his cards. Like when I'm looking here at the buy it nows, I'm not trying to get this one for 60. You know, it's kind of off-centered a bunch, whatever. I'm looking for good centering. I'm looking for not much wear on the corners. Like, no one's buying this for 200. No one's really buying this autograph for 600. So you have to kind of find that diamond in the rough, but that's what's more fun about hunting vintage cards rather than modern cards. With modern cards, just like 100 million of them out there, and it's just, yeah, okay, you're going to find them in better condition, but everybody can do that, and everybody can get them graded, and the pop counts are crazy. So when attention, even if it's over time, we're not talking about a short-term flip. We're not talking about you guys buying this, suddenly, Trey Young hits a three-pointer, and now Dominique Wilkins cards go up. We're not talking about that. So that's not the process we're looking at. We're looking at more of a long-term process. And this is a guy that absolutely has more room on his cards. So if you're looking for Dominique Wilkins cards, be trying to find the 1986. I think 1988 Fleer is another set that I was going to tell you guys about, because we are talking about some buys, sells, and holds as well. And 1988 Fleer is one of those sets that you definitely want to be picking up. We've seen the prices go up on 1987 Fleer, and people are starting to turn towards that because of all the 86 prices have gone basically crazy. But the problem with 87 is it just has a bunch of stars and Hall of Famers. It doesn't really have a bunch of good rookies. The good rookies in there are like Detlef Schrempf of the Seattle Supersonics. Now, if you played NBA Jam, it's relevant because it was like him and Gary Payton and Sean Kemp and Detlef Schrempf, and you were killing people playing NBA Jam. But that's not necessarily going to be the case. There's not a lot of value for rookies in that set. Wow, there's a PSA 10 with a bunch of bids on it for $8,000. So again, you're really not going to find a PSA 10. The splits are going to be so difficult, but you can find high-grade cards that you can run through grading to get a very nice return. It's going to take time, but nobody said it would be easy. So don't be a bitch. Get a card, get it graded, go through the process, and enjoy that shit. So Dominique Wilkins, definitely another guy to look at. The last guy we were talking about is Moses Malone. Now, this dude is definitely more decorated than these other guys, and man, it's crazy he doesn't get more attention. I mean, his card is more expensive than others, but it's still in the $100 range. Now, when you think about that, a guy with a career that's well decorated, he's in the Hall of Fame, and his card is only around $100. If you can find a nice one to get graded, think about the potential of that card. With the print run being lower, more difficult to accomplish, you find yourself an Easter egg, a nice high grade one, you get it graded. Imagine that versus the people who are getting like Prism football rookies graded. They're like, yeah, this Daniel Jones rookie, I paid $70 for it raw, and now Daniel Jones sucks. I mean, that's part of the problem, is that, in 5 years or whatever, when he's just an average player, the print run is going to kill the value on the cards. This is different, and it's going to be a better long-term investment than a lot of those newer cards that were basically just trying to flip for a profit. So this is kind of the other side of the coin, the long-term holds. Hall of Fame, 13-time All-Star, All-Star, not All-Store, 82-83 NBA champ. He was a 6-time rebound champ, 8-time All-NBA, 2-time All-Defensive, 74-75 All-Rookie, the Finals MVP of 82-83, and a 3-time League MVP. If that's not starstruck, I don't know what the hell is. And he averaged over 20 points a game over 1,455 games, and he created the Iron Man that was Charles Barkley. So all of these things mean you should probably be buying Moses Malone cards because they're not that expensive. You can get key sets like 1986 Fleer and then his 1975 Topps card, like I told you guys, around the $100 range. But if you find it in good condition, and again, these old basketball cards are very difficult to find in good grades because the centering was off and everything's all chewed up. Kids had them in their bike spokes. Their dog was licking on them like it was a butter cookie. It's horrible. It's rough to find these in good shape, and that's why they're a better long-term investment. So, I mean, this one went PSA 6 faded for almost $100. What other ones sold? PSA 10, $9,000. I mean, you're not going to find that out in the wild, but you could easily find one you could get off a dude for $50 that you could get graded and might have the $1,500. There's a PSA 9. Here's a PSA 7 for $355. So that is the strategy, and it's one that I've used for good success for quite a while, and that is hunting down good vintage cards to run through the grading process and get that nice grade. Honestly, the price of the grading is negligible, and you really are just investing the time to get the card back. But again, it's cyclical, like we talked about. Once you get a bunch coming back, it doesn't feel as rough. What do they have available these days? They've got some auctions. I would definitely check those. Go to auction, ending soonest, and just watch all of the ones that you're interested in. Like, here's a PSA 8 for only $150. Maybe that ends too cheap. Here's a SGC. Oh, is that a 5.5? It's hard to tell. I don't really like the SGC cases that have two grades. They have like a number grade and they have a grade below it. It's just a little bit confusing for the average user. So there's a bunch of Moses Malones here that you might be able to clip. There's a lot of 2 near mint condition. Let's check these out and see what's up. Another thing that you can do, which doesn't work as much these days, but it used to work a lot, because I used to flip video games. I would buy collections of retro video games in the mid-2000s on eBay. I would break them down and I would sell them on Amazon, because the Amazon had a bunch of middle-class families that were buying, Super Smash Brothers or Smash Brothers for $50, $60. They're buying the Mario Karts. They're buying Super Mario 1, 2, and 3 for like $50 for the 3, and you could get them on eBay in collections for relatively dirt cheap, because all the people that had them in their closets, their kids, whatever, went to college, all of those people put them all up on eBay, and that was the way that market worked at that time. Doesn't really work that way anymore. It's basically been stripped of all value, but you do get the occasional find. Here you've got the lot of 2, the Moses Malone. You could message the person and say, hey, what would you take for the 2 of these? Or how do, now this is a business, New England sports cards, they're less likely to end an auction. But if you find just an average person and they're selling, you can message them and ask them, hey, what do you want to end this auction? A lot of the time, people have a price in mind. We've talked about it before. I do have a video on how to negotiate better prices. It's basically the first video I made for this channel. If you guys want to check that out and learn how to negotiate a little bit better, there's a lot of money to be made in negotiation. So the one on the right, the centering is definitely not that great, but the corners look decent. It's probably somewhere in the 5 range with that centering, depending. And then this other one, it's hard to tell. It looks like there's a little bit of chipping on the corners, a little bit of softness. That one with that centering could easily be in the 6, 7 range. So you're probably looking at maybe a couple $100 worth of cards, and who knows? Maybe this ends for $40 or $50. We get lucky. But Moses Malone, definitely a guy that you probably want to pick up. So there's a lot of these vintage cards, a lot of these vintage basketball players. When I was doing research for this video, I found a couple of other guys. George Gervin, he's another one, although his cards are a bit more expensive. But you guys get the point. I think over time, people are going to be looking at vintage basketball, and I think just vintage cards in general have a leg up on modern cards simply because of population count. The only thing holding them back at all is interest or demand. Now, we know in basketball that the Magic Johnson documentary is going to be coming out next year. There's also a Kobe documentary in the works. A lot of Lakers players are just going up in value because with the Lakers with LeBron right now, plus the Magic Johnson documentary, plus Kobe's death, there's a lot of interest in the Lakers, and rightfully so. So Lakers cards, you got all the extracurricular Lakers shit that's going on out there. That stuff is going up. so you can get on that train and get ready for that Magic Johnson documentary, because when that comes out and all the cards start going up 2x, 3x in value, that, my friends, is when you can unload and then repurchase in the future. Like a guy like Jason Tatum, if the Heat beat the Celtics, Jason Tatum's cards are probably going to cool off by 20 or 30%, and that's a dude that I think can be the next Giannis type LeBron guy in a few years. That's a guy whose cards I don't want to get rid of, I just want to stash them. So as far as buying goes, I'm definitely still buying Jason Tatum, but I'm going to wait until they get eliminated. After elimination, Brandon Ingram, we talked about him. I think his cards are definitely cheap enough now to be buying. There's a lot of potential there. I think Kevin Durant's cards have kind of gone up quite a bit. Jared Allen, whether he gets traded to the Pelicans or not, I still think you can get a lot of good value on that sneaky pick. 1988 Fleer, because 1987 Fleer basketball cards have definitely gone up a bunch, and 1988 Fleer has a way better rookie class. You have Stockton, you have Rodman, you have Pippen, you have Reggie Miller, and you can still get sets with good condition cards for like $200, $300, something like that. I don't want the whole set. I just want to get the stars. So if you can find some good deals on those stars, I think 1988 Fleer cards are definitely a good pickup. As far as cards to sell, there's two main guys. One, Tyler Hero. That's your guy. Those cards are inflated right now because of all the hype, and it is definitely worthwhile, that hype. But the way that the market's going to work is that Tyler Hero cards are going to be just insane right now, but they're bound to go back down. So I would rather sell them right now, wait until they either get eliminated by the Lakers or wait until after the finals are over. Even after the finals are over, even if the Heat win, you're going to see a cooling off period because it might take months. They said they wanted to play in December, but then you've got the commissioner or whatever. He's saying that they want to start and have a regular season next year. So, I mean, I'm not saying that they're going to start next October, but what if they decide to wait that long or something crazy like that? Basketball cards are definitely going to go back down for a period of time, and that's the type of player that I want to sell when he's red hot and then pick him up as the market cools down. The other guy that I want you guys to sell right now is Dwight Howard. Dwight Howard's cards are at like a peak, especially his Topps Chrome. I think it's 2004 Topps Chrome rookie. I got a couple floating around here from a collection that have basically just been picking up dust, and now they're like 20, 25 bucks a piece. I'm going to take the opportunity and sell the Dwight Howard cards. I'm not going to send them in for grading. I don't have a belief in Dwight Howard. I know a lot of people herald his previous, he was dope back in the day. He was, when in the heyday or whatever. I've never really been a fan of Dwight Howard, even though he was obviously a great player for a while. And I don't really feel that his cards are going to retain interest long term. I think that right now is about the most interest you're ever going to see in Dwight Howard. Maybe he retires next season, even if he plays again a full season with the Lakers and LeBron gets everybody back to the finals next season or whatever. I mean, are we, other than that exact string of events, are we ever going to see that much interest on Dwight Howard again? Probably not. So sell your Dwight Howards now. That is the jam. And as far as holding goes, I'm pretty much holding everything else that's basketball. I'm holding the GOATs. I'm holding the Jordans. I'm holding the Giannis. I'm holding the LeBrons. I'm holding the vintage stuff. I'm just basically filtering stuff through to get graded and getting essentially prepared for next season, because we don't really know when that's going to start or how that's going to happen. But you know which better players you want. You know which the hottest rookies are, which are still cheap. Going and getting RJ Barrett, Donruss base rookies for $4 or $5 a piece. That's a good bet, because if you can get the ones that are gradable there, you send them into PSA, and now you got a $200 card. He gets, hot, fires up. The Knicks end up getting all the players we talked about. They've got Giannis, LeBron. Now you're looking at a championship team. RJ Barrett's cards will be worth more than that $5 you paid. So there are a few opportunities like that. We've got rumors now that Harden and D'Antoni might go to the 76ers, because D'Antoni is rumored to, the Sixers are going to come after him, and that might lure in Harden, you know what I mean? A little tug of war, a little Harden, you know what I'm saying? But how's that going to work with Ben Simmons and Embiid? I don't know. It's an interesting and a weird situation, and I would check it out, guys, and keep your ear to the ground and make sure that you're listening. But either way, I think that's going to be it for us today. Be smart out there, and again, I want you guys to own your own decisions when it comes to investing in cards, flipping, long-term, short-term, whatever it is. You're listening to information, and I'm here to give you the best information that I can give you, but you guys need to make the decisions yourself. You go out there, you do the research, you make the final decision, you click the button, and then you own it. It's like when somebody, cancels an order and they're like, I ordered it by mistake. What do you mean you ordered it by mistake, dummy? You had to hit 15 buttons. Okay, do you want this item? Yes, 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 yes. PayPal, boom, log in, boom, Sam. You had to hit 70 buttons to get there. You mistakenly hit 70 buttons in the random, sequential order? What? How? I've never done it. Have a wonderful day, guys. I'll catch you on the flip side.